Hi everybody. Glucose control is quite complex, so I thought I'd share this video with you to give you a hand. The first thing you'll notice is it requires two hormones here, insulin and glucagon, and one takes glucose from the blood and puts it into the liver in the form of glycogen, and the other takes that glycogen that's stored and converts it into glucose for the bloodstream. As you can see here, we're working on page 162 to 165 in the textbook. It's actually quite well laid out in there as well, so please feel free to use that to supplement this video. So diabetes, everyone knows about it pretty much. It's where you can't actually absorb glucose because the insulin is not working effectively or the body's not producing enough. It's produced in the pancreas, as it says there, and it goes to the liver, which is the target organ, and tells the target organ there, the liver, to store glucose as glycogen. That glycogen can then be converted back into glucose. This is probably the best picture in the presentation because it shows quite clearly how the glucose is regulated by the body. So it's always good to start with the high blood sugar level. So assume someone has drunken a lot of sugary drinks or something like that. What happens is the blood passes through the pancreas, and the pancreas detects this and releases insulin because having a high blood sugar level, a high glucose level is very dangerous. It can actually cause you to pass out. You can go into a coma from it. The insulin is released, and this has two effects. The first branch is it stimulates most cells in the body, the notable exception being the red blood cells, to absorb glucose. So they just start taking that glucose and they actually respire it away, and that helps to lower the blood sugar level, as you can see there. The other effect is, and it's nicely color coded here, the insulin targets particular receptors on the liver cell and causes the glucose, which is in the blood, to be converted into glycogen for storage. The net result of both of these is we end up with a lower blood sugar level. Let's say the person that had the high sugar drink then felt a bit guilty and decided to run a race and didn't just want to run a race, wanted to run a marathon. So a couple of hours into the marathon, their blood sugar level is going to be very, very low, dangerously low. In fact, they could risk passing out if it stayed low. So what happens is as the blood is passing to the pancreas receives this information from the bloodstream, going blood sugar level is really low. We need to top up the blood sugar level to keep the person going. So it releases glucagon, another hormone, which only targets the liver. So the liver then can convert the glycogen back into glucose, which is then liberated from the liver into the bloodstream, raises the blood sugar level. I always like to remember it as all the glucose has gone, so release glucagon. The name kind of gives it away there. Diabetes is unfortunately where insulin is not produced by the body or does not work correctly. So what happens is as the blood sugar level is high, the pancreas detects this but can't release insulin. So unfortunately, it stays in the bloodstream. It's not absorbed fully by the cells and not converted into glycogen there. The net result is the blood sugar level does not get lowered. This also has a knock-on effect that when the person has got a low blood sugar level, they unfortunately will release glucagon because that's still working, but there is no glycogen stored in the liver because the insulin has not been able to top it up effectively. I always like to think of this as the emergency fuel tank is empty. The person cannot maintain blood sugar level very easily themselves. Moving on, this is from BBC Bite Size. Really nice diagram. It shows if there's too much blood glucose, the pancreas will release the insulin, which travels to the target cells, which helps to reduce the blood glucose level. And that's further reinforced by the points here. I'll share this PowerPoint with you, so you can always just supplement your notes. So that's just recapping what happens when the blood glucose level is too low. It's all about those two hormones, insulin and glucagon. Insulin is a vital hormone and it's got a very complex structure being a highly coiled protein, as you can see there. It used to be sourced from cows and pigs, but this had ethical issues, not only from people that said it was not really very nice to the animals because you had to slaughter them, and also there is religious connotations because some people can't use products that come from pigs and other people can't use products that come from cows. So it's actually quite difficult to source it, and there was rejection issues. So nowadays they use genetic modified bacteria to do so. It produces virtually pure human insulin, so there's a lot less chance of rejection. And also it can be made really quickly, so there's no need to slaughter animals for that. And a final fact to finish off on is the discovery of insulin. It was done by the two guys in the picture there, Banting and Best, but the most important thing in the picture there is a dog. What they did was they actually quite cruelly removed the pancreas from the dog and saw the effects it had. Basically, its blood sugar level continued to rise. It drank lots of water and was going to the toilet all the time, and it became a lot weaker and weaker because it wasn't able to produce insulin, which meant it couldn't maintain its blood glucose levels. So the dog effectively had been artificially given diabetes. Rather a cruel experiment, but allowed us to discover how insulin worked. Because they did follow-up experiments with this, where they basically stopped the flow of nutrients to the pancreas there, so it degenerated. They then sliced it up and mixed it with water and salt, and then they filtered it out, and they found that within there was this substance which ultimately became insulin. So it was actually quite a good experiment, apart from for the poor old dog there. Luckily, this wouldn't happen today because of ethical reasons. But what they did was they injected the extract into the diabetic dog and it got healthier and stronger. Basically, they'd found insulin and how insulin could be used to treat diabetics. Hopefully that was helpful, and I will try and post as many of these as possible. Thanks a lot. Bye.